I love Japan. I love the food, I love the people, and of course, I absolutely love the golf clubs. So we're going to be looking at some of the best drivers and irons the land of the rising sun has to offer, but also you will be feasting your eyes on some of the best looking golf clubs ever made, ever in eternity in the universe. Ever. So Japan has always had a fascination for me, and I was really lucky enough to visit for the first time a few years ago. I came back about 2 stone heavier, but I did have some incredible experiences. The only regret I do have is not being able to play golf whilst I was there. Some of the courses just look unbelievable. Imagine being able to play golf under the watchful eye of Mount Fuji. But for me ladies, we'll do just fine to talk you through this amazing bag. And what also would be fine is if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. So many of you will know that Mizuno for forever have been making amazing irons, but the last few years they've also been firing out some very, very good drivers. And these are the latest incarnations, the ST230s. And last year was a real landmark moment for Mizuno because a lot of their tour pros actually put this driver into play. Now that hadn't been the case in the past. You see, even players, stalwarts of Mizuno, say a Luke Donald, for example, Keith Mitchell, you know, these kind of guys, they were playing Mizuno irons, but the driver they reserved for other more well-known manufacturers. That is not the case anymore. So for me, these are some of the best drivers that Mizuno have produced. I'll throw up the data now. As I stonk one down the fairway. Please hold on, thank you. So the overall distance with these new Mizuno drivers is good, but the overall ball speed is right up there with a lot of the other drivers I've tested during Tech Month. 2 fairways in a row as well. Oh, it's an early New Year's miracle. The STZ and the STX, they look quite similar to be fair. Earlier this month I reviewed the Ping drivers, which had a carbon wrap at the back, and the Mizuno drivers do have something similar in looks. However, behind the ball, visually, it's just so much better. It's a lot more subtle and it looks a lot more inviting to hit on both these models. The Mizuno drivers have something called a Core Tech chamber, which sounds like something you don't want to be stuck in, but the feel of these drivers is really, really nice. There's not like loads of crazy technology here, it's just a really good driver. And talking about good drivers, we have the Srixon ZX7 and the ZX5 Mark II. Oh God. Tell you what, that's probably a good sign of these drivers, because I almost missed that. It's crept up to 285. Solid. So both these drivers are quite subtle, especially when you compare them to some of the drivers coming out this year, like the Paradigm and the Stealth 2. And they definitely compete with those big boys on feel. If you're looking for a driver which sits outside those big companies, a club which you might not have tested before, these two drivers are a good place to start. And now for the irons. So this is where Japanese clubs really come alive for me. There's something about Japan and forging that kind of really go hand in hand. Now there's no reason to say that you can't get good forged irons elsewhere, but there's just something very special about these. So I've got some incredible sets to show you in person before we dive into a world of elite irons that is going to leave you breathless, speechless, unable to comprehend the meaning of life. So first up, we have these irons from Vega. So these are the classic line and the star line, and they're going to cater for people looking for more of a bladed shape, but also for golfers looking for a little bit more forgiveness. So Vega are one of those brands who are looking to get a little bit more involved in the Western markets. So Vega say that they can trace their club making skills all the way back through the centuries to the samurai sword makers of ancient Japan. And I have to say, they do feel absolutely fantastic. So one of the issues that Vega have is it's difficult to break down that east-west divide unless you've got a lot of funding. Getting into a market isn't cheap, especially when there are other more established brands. One such company to do this was Shrixon, but they managed it by getting the golf ball in the market, and they used that as a springboard to introduce clubs like the Z Forge 2, the ZX4, the ZX5, and the ZX7. Oh, hello. So for me, the ZX7s, last year, they were a real standout performer, and I absolutely love this version of the ZX7 iron. I think it's even slightly better. They've rejigged the structure of this iron a little bit, so they've put this pure frame in the back. Basically means they've put a bit more mass behind the hitting area, and it just feels super solid. The turf interaction is absolutely brilliant. I know that sounds a little bit nerdy, but they also take just beautiful, crisp divots, like fat £5 notes, or like a stack of £5 notes, like 35 notes just stacked on top of each other. If I was to recommend any iron out this video, I think it probably would be the Shrixons, because I think we all know that Mizunos are at an incredibly high level, and they have been for some time. But these Shrixons are, they are right up there as well. By the way, I need some of these Z Forge 2 irons through. Just absolutely look at them. I mean, these ZX Forged are very nice, but those just look absolutely unreal. Oh, stop it. Just feel great. So good. Now, of course, I've selected some Mizuno blades for you to look at, and one of the reasons I love them so much, especially these 221s, is that they've hardly changed anything for years. All they did with these irons, almost literally, and I'm not joking here, is put this text on, and that's it. That's all that's really changed in the last few years. And you know what? I'm here for it. And as a kid, like, I always wanted Mizuno blades. Like, they were the club to have. Here I am on a beautiful evening with the 221s, just loving life. But you know what the scary thing is? These aren't even the best looking iron that you're going to see in this video. So I sent my team onto the internet to search out some niche Japanese brands that might be a little bit harder to get hold of, but just produce some incredible golf clubs. Sometimes it's worth going to that extra little bit of effort to find these clubs. Now, I think some of these brands I'll probably know, but hopefully there'll be a few that I don't.
So we found 11 brands.
Okay.
But hold on for the last one, because it is going to blow your mind.
Okay, Honma. Tested out Honma clubs for the first time. Last year before, I was actually really impressed. It was just after they signed Justin Rose. They're more famous for producing their Beres range, which is like gold, and they cost like £15 million a club. Not quite actual price here, but they do produce other clubs at different price levels. They're well worth checking out. I was very pleasantly surprised when we tested them. MIURA, listen, what more do I need to say? If you are a golfer and you don't know the name MIURA, then you have not delved deeply enough into this wonderful game that we play. MIURA, incredibly famous forging house in Japan. Reportedly, they made Tiger Woods' clubs when he was with Nike. XXIO, this is pronounced Zexio. Now this is a branch of Shrixon, and I've not tested these clubs out for quite some time. They're very pricey, they're very premium, but they're very much based on slower swing speed golfers. They feel fantastic, the ones I tested out a few years ago, but they are pricey. RYOMA, no idea. Literally none. Look great. So next up, Fujimoto, and these look nice.
Ooh, that's good.
These look really nice. Forged blades, cavity back irons. Ah, right, okay, yes. I know these ones, I have seen these ones. So they offer an engraving service, and honestly, just look at some of these. How pretty are they? Oh, that's just beautiful. You wouldn't even want to hit them, would you? 7 Golf, I have heard of 7 Golf. Now these irons are ridiculously expensive, so the putters. They're 100% CNC milled. So whereas a lot of companies would forge a head, cast a head, and then CNC mill it into shape, what 7 do is just take the block of steel and then CNC it to the shape that they want. So that's it. And that's why they're so expensive. I would give a kidney to get a set of these. It probably would actually cost that as well. Itobori. What are these? What? Oh my absolute lordy lord. They look unbelievable. God, look at that. Looks like it's just been chiseled by a Stone Age master. How do I get this? How do I get one of these? I'll be right back. I'm gonna have to get some of these. EPON. I have actually heard of EPON before, and I've seen some of their stuff, although I've never hit it. By the way, if you want me to test any of these Japanese clubs in particular, get down to those comments and let me know. The one that gets the most comments out of these, I'm gonna try and get some. Yonex. God, I remember Yonex. Yonex used to sponsor Colin Montgomery back in the day. Could elongate the hitting zone. And they were wildly expensive as well. Yonex is one of those companies that actually makes a whole host of sporting equipment, kind of like Mizuno in some respects. But I've never ever hit any of their clubs. They look okay. Like, they're not the kind of clubs to get me mega excited. And I know they do tend to sponsor quite a few LPGA players. Something to investigate. 14 Golf. Yes, I have seen and heard of these. I know they're about 200 quid a club, if not more. And they've got like a feather embossed onto their irons. They do look like super duper clean. And that's the thing, like, that's what kind of gets me excited about Japanese clubs, is just that, the artistry in it and how just nice they look. They look like golf clubs, but they look like something extra, you know. They'll make you feel so happy having one in the bag. Right, last up. So this is the one that I've apparently got to be excited for. Okay.
So, this is the kind of position you want me in, Pete. Pete? Pete?